a very good morning to you all, and to be precise, it's about 24 past 4. Oh, just look at that over there, man. Oh, you see it's probably going to get washed out a bit. It is. Oh, no, there we go, look. I think we're in for a good one. Anyway, today, obviously, we were talking a little bit about manual exposure, as I have been doing. But also we'll talk a little bit about on your cameras where you have automatic modes, and because one of the things that on this course I've been doing is they get to show you how rubbish these actual modes are, and I'll be honest with you, I've never actually used them, so I thought, well, do you know what, I'll go out and have a play around with them. Now this was going to be a video that I was going to do last week of actually using them, but I never came around to finishing it purely because these modes are absolutely rubbish. They really, really are. And you know the ones that I'm on about. You've got a picture of a face, a mountain, and a teacup for the macro, and all this sort of business. And I'll show you an image now of one that I took. And the reason I had problems with this one was because it's on automatic. And when it's on the automatic, you can't even choose where you want to focus. It was absolutely ridiculous. Oh, that for a view. It was absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, let's get to location. And we'll talk a bit more. Quite on a hustle for the first one in the morning actually. I'm going to be quick because obviously I want to get down Peveril Point. But what I'm doing with that, actually this one, I've actually slightly overexposed it because I want to try and, in Lightroom, I want to try and bring up a bit of the details in the foreground. But those colours are just beautiful. Obviously because you're still sort of, I know the sun's rising. That looks nice over there as well. We'll bump the ISO up quite a bit because I'd say what, 400 I think it is. I mean, I know it's not too much of an issue because obviously you're on a tripod, but I've still bumped it up a little bit. So it's f11, 1/5 of a second shutter speed, ISO 400, and I do like those colours. Well, I can't believe I got down there in one take without falling over. Whew. Right, oh, so it's one of a nice bit of a location where I just set up, and not so windy today either, which is good. Right, let's find a bit of a composition, shall we? Well, I think I found something that's okay-ish on this one, and I'll explain the reasons a little bit of why the automatic modes are rubbish, and this is going to be the reason why. Is because on this one I'm going to have to actually bracket the exposure, and the reason being is because the foreground is actually pretty quite dark and your background is going to be actually pretty bright, and I want to retain some of the detail in the foreground. But if I was to take the shot without bracketing, this is just going to be a black silhouette. And the biggest problem that you've got is, by looking at the histogram on that on here, is it is black, which is the foreground. It is literally, it's clipping. So the problem I'm going to have is, if I increased the exposure in Lightroom on that foreground, you're going to get so much noise, it's going to be horrible. So you're going to have to overexpose. But if I overexpose, the sunrise is going to just be washed out. And this is where exposure bracketing comes in. Let's give it a bash. So yeah, the landscape mode on the camera certainly would allow to have done this. And we're just out of curiosity, when I got this on ISO 200 f14 and it's 25th of a second, but it's bracketed, so it's underexposed by 1 stop, overexposed by 1 stop. If I'd have done that in the landscape, what would it have took? f6.3. Why would you choose f6.3? You know, I'm doing a landscape here, I'm trying to keep the detail and everything in your foreground and your background. Why would you have? It just doesn't make sense. And this is what I say, is that they're just absolutely rubbish. I wouldn't even bother using them. So how do these automatic modes work then? Well, I think they're trying to guess what it is that you're trying to do. So you've sort of given her an idea, because say you've put it into portrait mode. So it thinks, right, you're going to take a portrait. So basically it goes, well, you want to keep your f value as low as possible. So it knows what lens you've got in there. It knows what your lens is capable of. They go, right, let's drop the f number down to as low as possible. They go, like, f4.5. And then it'll just change the rest of the settings, your shutter speed. It will try to keep to a handheld speed, so you're talking 125th of a second. And that'll just wamp your ISO up if it needs to. And then if you say you're doing a macro shot, it'll do the same thing. It tries to guess a bit more what you're trying to do, and then it will say, right, okay, you've selected that mode, and that's how it works. But the only problem is because when you're using manual mode yourself, you can adjust some of the settings. So you pretty much say like you're doing landscape. Like today, I know I was looking at it thinking, right, I'm going to go around about between f11 and f14. I've got the scope of where I'm going to stay because of what I'm doing. And then once I've composed the shot and I've got your settings, I'm thinking, right, I need to slightly underexpose or overexpose, a bit like what I did. So you can fine tune those settings to get the best that you can do. But your camera ain't going to do that. It's not going to allow you to. It's because it will go, right, these are your settings you're using, that's it. And so yes, okay, you're going to get an okay sort of a shot. But as I found during the week when I was actually out doing this, and this is why I didn't release the video the other week, because I thought I can combine that with today, because I knew it was coming out today, so I could combine the two. And I knew that I was going to be doing a bit of exposure bracketing, so I thought I could actually combine these two together to just explain that a little bit more. And as I found while I was out, there was just so much that you just couldn't do. And even the focus, I couldn't choose my focus point, for God's sake. And it's just like, it's frustrating. For me, it was frustrating. I think for a beginner who's never used these cameras, they're going to use them. And I sort of see why, because you're going to get okay results and better than what they could do if they used full manual. But my advice is going to be really simple, is don't use them and use your manual modes instead, because you've got 3 to choose from. You've got full manual, you've got aperture priority and shutter priority. Just think about what you're going to do, So if you're going to do something which is going to be like a landscape or something, put it in aperture priority. Set your aperture to f11, f13, f14. The camera will then decide the shutter speed and the ISO, but you can change those if you need to, and that's the point. And it's the same with the shutter priority. You set the speed that you're going to, because you're going to want to freeze the action, so you're going to have a pretty high shutter speed, and your camera will do the rest for you. But you've still got that control, and that's the important part. Ah, it's 5:15. Now I was home from a bacon sandwich, so I might just sit around here and just chill and enjoy the rest of this, to be honest. So yeah, I hope you found this useful, and give it a try as well, and see if you get as frustrated as I did, because I mean, I sort of get why they're on cameras, but they're absolutely flipping useless. If I do take any more, I'll show them at the end for you. But, and we have it. Until the next time, guys, thanks for joining, and take care, stay safe, I'll see you soon.